All right, so let's enhance the CRM tool that we built previously in this course. Because typically with a CRM, you want to kind of get leads in there and then you want to work with these leads to convert them into clients. And we can actually also automate this in Notion using external tools and using automations with Zapier. Now for this automation, we're pretending that our prospects, our leads are actually filling out a form or a type of form again. They're basically booking a call with us, an introductory call for us to get to know them and to discuss pricing and what they need and so on. So something that you also would typically do when working with clients or when collecting leads for your business. In order to facilitate that, we're using a popular scheduling tool called Calendly, which is great because it also integrates with tools like Zapier, which is something that we need for this to work. So yeah, I'm not going to go into too much detail on Calendly. Basically, you can create different meeting types and you get these booking pages where people can basically select a time slot that works for them and then they can book a meeting with you. So a really helpful tool, especially if you are busy and you have a busy schedule, because this automatically also finds the slots in your calendar that you still have free. So it looks at your Google Calendar and so on and checks which times you're actually available. So yeah, recommended tool if you want to use it. The link will be in the description down below as well. So without further talking, let's get right into the automation. The first thing I want to show you is how this CRM demo call that I set up here in Calendly actually works. So if I book any time in here or go through this booking process to confirm a time, I'm actually asked to enter in my name, my email, my company name, my phone number, what I want to talk about, and then any additional thoughts and just things to talk about, requirements and so on. So this is basically pretty similar to what we saw with Typeform. It's again a type of web form that users can fill out in order for us to interact with them, and this helps us to automate this process and to get the data inside of Notion. Now to test out this automation, I'm actually going to be filling out this form to have some tests. So let's get started with the automation. First, let's choose the trigger, and this will be Calendly in my case. Again, you can use any calendar tool or scheduling tool that integrates with Zapier. So yeah, there's a couple of other options as well. I'm just going to use Calendly for this automation. Now, the trigger event in this case, it will be when an invitee is created. So basically, when an invitee schedules an event, this will trigger our automation. So for every meeting request or every scheduled, every booking inside of your Calendly account, a trigger will be started basically, or this automation will be triggered. And now again, we have to choose our Calendly account. I've got mine set up already, but if you haven't, you'll need to connect it. And that's something you'll have to do with Zapier a lot in the beginning, if you haven't set up your accounts. But once you've authenticated them once, then you'll not have to do that anymore. Let's again test the trigger here. And I actually already filled out this form once, so I do have some quite useful information in here, but you might not, and that's not a problem. So yeah, we can just go without testing it first, but sometimes it can be helpful to have some test data in there to make it work. Now for the second step, we will add a filter. And the reason why we add this is because this trigger basically fires for every single meeting that gets scheduled in Calendly. And we could have a different meeting type in Calendly, which would mean that the automation is triggered and we get a new database entry, even though it's a completely unrelated meeting type. Maybe you have like an one-on-one internal call in Calendly, which you can schedule in your company, but then this automation would be triggered as well, and that's not something that we want. So to prevent that from happening, we will add this filter, and you can just follow along with this. We have to put in the event type name, and we want to say the text exactly matches, and then CRM demo. So this is the type, the event type name of the event type that we're using for this automation. And again, if this is overwhelming for you, I completely understand that. Again, you can check out more about Zapier in my Zapier 101 course, where I go into a lot more detail on many of these concepts. So it's a lot slower than this quick introduction where we just have to, kind of skip over things, because it's more meant to show you the concepts, the general concepts. All right, so let's continue. And that should work fine. So let's see. if sometimes it takes a bit of time, but yeah, so it worked and the automation would have continued. So that's great in this case. Now let's continue here as well, and let's add a third action. And now this is where Notion comes in again. So what we now want to do is we want to add a Notion step again, and we want to again add a database item. This time we want to add it to a different database. So we'll have to choose a different database in the following steps. But first let's choose our Notion account. Then let's go to set up the action. So the database this time is going to be the advanced CRM database. And again, make sure that you actually have the permission set up. So in here, when you go to sharing options, you should have this Zapier integration here with can edit permissions, because otherwise it won't be possible to use it like that. All right, so back in our automation, we can now fill in the data in Notion, basically, based on the things that we get from Calendly. So this is kind of, again, something that you need to do a couple of times before you get it, or it might be a bit hard to understand. But basically, when this automation is triggered here from Calendly, Calendly will send over the data that it got, like the form that was filled out in this form here, the data from here. This will be sent over to Zapier, and we can actually access that data in here, in these different fields. So if I click into this project name field and I go to this insert data box, click on the first step. So this is where the trigger is. And now you see, if I click on the show all options, you see all this data that we get from Calendly. And we can now just take that data that we get from Calendly and plug it into this new database item that we're creating inside of Notion. So for this project name, let's just put in the, what do we call it? I think it was called the, what do you want to talk about question. So we can also search for that. Here. What do you want to talk about, right? So this is basically whatever the person put into this field will be in here, in this response. So we can just add this by clicking on it. We can add this into the project name, and then this will turn out to be whatever the person sent in the Calendly form. So if the person said the project name was XYZ website redesign, then this will be XYZ website redesign in our Notion database later in the new entry that we create. But if the person says something else, then this will also be something else. Now, the priority, that's the property that we have in our Notion database. So right here, I think we didn't add that when we actually created the database, but you can have that if you want to. You don't need it, but yeah. So we can just set that to low by default. The status, that's actually important because we want the status for new clients or for new bookings from this meeting type to be a lead status. So we want them to, if we go back to the status board, to appear in this category because we think that, generally these are leads that we have to still convert into customers. Now the account owner, or like the responsible person for this lead, we can set like a default here. So I'll just set it to my name. And now let's fill out the additional information. So the contact person, this is actually, again, data that we get from the Calendly. So we'll just take the invitee name as the contact person, basically. So put this, again, this variable in here so that we have the data in there. Then let's go to the company name. This is also a field in Calendly. So we'll search through this. And where do we have it? Now I think we didn't add the company name to the type form. Oh yeah, we did. Okay, so this will be the company name. I don't know if we have it like in here. Okay, no, we add that later, so it's not showing up in here, but no worries, let's just leave that out. For the phone number, we'll actually go in here, and again, we'll search just for that name. So we'll search for phone number, and we'll take this one. So this, where it says phone number, this is basically the answer that we get. Now for the estimated value, we'll leave that as just, we'll leave that blank. That's something that we have to fill out manually because we can't guess the value of a potential lead beforehand. That's something that would be too advanced for this video. Now the email, again, is simple. And then the content, that's just anything else that we add. So let's say we have think it's called please share any additional information. Yeah, so this one down here, plug that in there, and now continue. And just stay with me for a bit because you will get how it works once we've tried it out. So now we click on test and continue, and we'll see if we can actually send the data over to Notion. I'll see if everything works. So to try that out again, we need to actually publish this automation, so to publish this app. So we'll click on publish and then publish and turn on. And now it will be turned on and be working. So now whenever something happens, you can actually just hide that. Don't show this again. Just want to go out of there. Perfect. So yeah, so this now is live. And if we now fill out the Calendly form again, we should be able to get it right into our Notion database. Let's try it out. So I'm back in my CRM demo booking call basically, and I'll just schedule a new meeting type. So let me just put in my name here. I'm also going to put in my email address. I'll put in a company name. I'll put in a fake phone number. And let's say, what do I want to talk about? Let's talk about automation consulting for my business. Maybe. And then here, lastly, I'll just add some random generated text. And with that, we're finished. So now we have filled out everything and we can click on schedule event. And this should now automatically be added to our Notion database. So let's see if we can actually see it in our Notion database. So yeah, now we see that it was added in here, and it seems like we kind of messed up the property mapping. That's something that sometimes happens, and that wasn't planned, but I'm just going to maybe show you how you can solve these problems. So back in our automation, let's actually try to see why this wasn't working. So let's go back to the first step. And let's go to test the trigger again. And here I actually want to test for a new trigger. So let's see if that is, no, that's not the right one. I want to use that one, right? Because that's the form entry that we just used. So it should be, yeah, that's correct, the correct one. Okay, so let's check out why it wasn't working. Let's see this third step. And let's go to setup action. Now here, it seems like we somehow messed up. Oh yeah, right. Look, we actually put in the phone number as the project name. So that's something that we don't want to do. We want to have it as the, what do you want to talk about? So that should be, I think that's the correct one. Let me check. Oh no, it's this one. So we have to use this one, which has the automation consulting for my business. That's the actual title we have to use. Like that. And then for the invitee name, that's correct. What do you want to talk about? That should actually be something else as well, I think. So that should be this one. The phone number should be, where do we have it? This one. Company name should be, where do we have it? This one. And yeah, so now it should be working fine. Let's publish this again and let's retry it to see if it works. All right, so let's try again. As I said, I messed something up, but now it should be working fine again. So let's go through this quickly again. I'm just going to put in a different email address here. I'm going to put in a different company name here. And I'm going to put a fake phone number here. And let's say again, automation consulting for Janar's workspace, like that. Lastly, random generator again, schedule the event, and let's see what happens. So let's go back. And yeah, right, that's how we want it to be. You see, now we have a new lead. We actually see the name of the project, so, or the name of the, the thing that the client or the lead wants us to do. And we have all this other information in here as well. We get the phone number, we get the email, we get the company name, the contact person, And what's also important, down here we get the information that the user added into the last field. So that's basically, any additional information that a client might want us to, or a lead might want us to get. So yeah, that's it for this automation. Now everything works like we wanted to. And again, new leads now will appear right in your CRM here. You'll be able to work on them. You'll be able to, add information to their pages. You can move them around. So if a lead moves from being a lead to you sending them out a proposal, you can move them around like that. And you can just do, again, everything that Notion databases allow you to do, with the added benefit of having automation basically do half of the job for you. So if you enjoyed this little bonus section, then please let me know, and feel free to check out more about Zapier and other automation tools. Again, it's something that I would highly recommend to anybody that is either a freelancer or a small business operator, or just, somebody that wants to learn more valuable skills for their job. Because these are skills that almost any knowledge worker can do a lot with in the coming years. And so that's something you should definitely take a look at. Again, I'd love to hear your feedback. So you can send me an email if you have feedback or if you have any additional questions. And that's it for this section of the course.